Hey everybody, Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com to talk about the greatest triple threat matches in wrestling history. There have been a lot of memorable triple threat matches with various stipulations over the years. I asked people on Facebook and Twitter for their input, and I've come up with a list here. I'm sure I'm missing some really good ones, so if you felt that I missed a significant match, let me know. YouTube.com/NoDQSayW. Let's begin with ECW because I think that this was where the concept of the triple threat match was first born way back 1994, before ECW was even Extreme, when it was still known as Eastern Championship Wrestling. Shane Douglas versus Sabu versus Terry Funk. This really set the standard for the triple threat match. It was a brand new concept, and it would lead to many great matches to come. And in fact, there was even a rematch at Hardcore Heaven 1997 with these three. A rematch of that classic first encounter in 1994. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar versus The Rock. This is a really great triple threat match, and one that I think a lot of people have forgotten about because it took place at an Australian pay-per-view event called Global Warming. You can actually find it on Netflix, and it's definitely worth checking out because it was the first time that Triple H and Brock Lesnar were ever in the ring together. A lot of people think that the first encounter between them was at SummerSlam in 2011, but it was actually, 2012, but it was actually way back in 2002. Chris Jericho versus Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit at WrestleMania in 2000. This match was interesting because both the European and the IC titles were on the line. Kurt Angle was holding on to both titles, and he would end up losing both titles at this WrestleMania. So I thought that was something very significant and easily the best match on that show, in my opinion. Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, this is becoming a pattern here. And Randy Orton at WrestleMania 22. I didn't like the fact that Rey Mysterio won the title, and WWE was exploiting Eddie Guerrero's death here, but this match was actually really good. I'll give credit where credit is due, and it was very fast-paced, and all three guys were at the top of their game in this match. WCW actually had a few good triple threat matches, believe it or not. Diamond Dallas Page versus Chris Benoit versus Raven at Uncensored 1998. A lot of people have forgotten about this match, but it was really brutal. It was a tremendous match, and another one I wanted to mention was the following year at Uncensored 1999. It was Raven versus Hardcore Hack versus Bam Bam Bigelow. It was very ECW style, but it was a real spectacle and one of the best triple threat matches that WCW ever produced. And speaking of Raven here, Raven versus Kane versus The Big Show at WrestleMania 17 for the Hardcore title. One of the better hardcore title matches that WWE ever produced, and just another great match on that WrestleMania 17 card. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show at Vengeance 2003. Once again, you have Kurt Angle in there, and Brock Lesnar and The Big Show had their feud going on. This was around the time that they broke the ring, and just a really intense physical match with these three guys. It was really something else. Tajiri versus Little Guido versus Super Crazy. This is on the you can watch this on the ECW Bloodsport DVD. This was just tremendous. The thing is, Tajiri and Super Crazy had so much chemistry, and every time they wrestled, it was just spectacular and just very entertaining. And these guys went all out and did all sorts of crazy things in the ring. Edge versus Jeff Hardy versus Triple H from Armageddon 2008. This was a very good triple threat match, and it was significant because Jeff Hardy finally won the WWE title. So this was a very significant moment for the fact that Hardy reached the very top of the mountain. John Cena versus Edge versus Triple H from Backlash 2006. This was when John Cena was on fire. He'd beaten Triple H at WrestleMania, and these guys went out there, and John Cena continued to dominate and become the top superstar in WWE. And it was just a really good match for these three guys. Steve Austin versus Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho, King of the Ring. Another really physical triple threat match. Whenever you got Benoit in there, it's going to be physical. And, Steve Austin took a lot of punishment in this match. He was taking German suplexes, and he was taking a lot of physical abuse. And, Booker T made his debut, so this was when the Invasion storyline was getting underway. John Cena versus Christian versus Chris Jericho, Vengeance 2005. This was a really fast-paced match. I mean, the action was hot. These guys were at the top of their games, and this was when John Cena was starting to make his rise to the top in WWE, and this was a big win for him. Terry Funk versus the Sandman versus Stevie Richards from Barely Legal 1997. This match, some people say it's a clusterfuck, and I mean, it was all over the place. You had Sandman with the ladders and Terry Funk with the chairs. Just a lot of craziness, but this was significant because it was ECW's first pay-per-view, and they really needed to go out there and prove to the world that they were forced to be reckoned with in the wrestling war. So these guys went out there and just left it all in the ring, and it was incredible. AJ Styles versus Petey Williams versus Chris Sabin from Final Resolution in 2005. This was the Ultimate X match, and in my opinion, the greatest Ultimate X match of all time. And this was really when TNA was at their absolute peak. And you had these three guys go out there and just have an incredible athletic showcase. And AJ Styles took all these crazy bumps, off the cables. One of the best matches in TNA history. And take your pick here. Any of the Edge and Christian versus Hardy Boys versus Dudley Boys matches. I mean, the SummerSlam 2000 match was my all-time favorite with those guys. But a lot of people like the WrestleMania 17 match. Anytime these three teams got in the ring together, it was magic. And these would be my top three or top four right now. Rock versus Undertaker versus Kurt Angle at Vengeance 2002. One of the best triple threat matches of all time, and when I polled people on Facebook and Twitter, I got a ton of responses with this match. It was just everything worked in this match. I mean, it was just about as close to a perfect triple threat match that you could have. And The Rock would end up winning the title and go on to SummerSlam to lose it to Brock Lesnar. So, it was a very significant match. Possibly, I think most people would call this the greatest TNA match of all time. AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe at Unbreakable 2005. I mean, three of the best wrestlers in the world at their peaks. I mean, this was just a match that people still talk about. And the thing about this match, too, is that it aired when TNA was in a dark period. They in 2004 and early 2005, they were on Fox Sports Net. And then they lost that TV deal. And this Unbreakable event took place before TNA got on Spike TV. So TNA had no television to build up this pay-per-view event. Yet everybody remembers this match, and if you saw this match, you would never forget it. And it's still talked about to this day as the greatest TNA match of all time. And then they had a rematch a couple years later. I think it was at a Turning Point pay-per-view. One of those pay-per-views, it was right before the Hogan and Bischoff regime started. And that was also a great match. Obviously not as good as the original, but still another tremendous triple threat match. And finally, the number one and, arguably number two, or you could put it in further down the list. Let's start off with the Backlash match. Triple H, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels. That match was spectacular, and you could easily put that in the top 10. I mean, that was it was in Canada, it was in Chris Benoit territory, so that made it memorable. But with these three guys, the match that everybody remembers the most, of course, is the WrestleMania 20 match, when Chris Benoit finally won the World Heavyweight title. In my opinion, the greatest triple threat match of all time. Not just because of the quality of the match, but because it was also at WrestleMania, and you had that moment where Benoit won the title, and then you had Eddie Guerrero coming out, and the two of them celebrating together. So this was really, the best of the best when it comes to triple threat matches. All right, that'll do it for my thoughts on the greatest triple threat matches in wrestling history. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm sure I missed a lot of matches. I mean, there have been so many triple threat matches over the years, some of them better than others. So if you felt I missed a significant match, leave a comment, youtube.com/NoDQCAW, and let me know which matches you thought were the greatest matches in WWE or TNA or ECW, whatever. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.